Here's your boy Chili here. Welcome back to Nano CEF. In the last video, we downloaded the framework, we built the wrapper, and then we set up our little project here. We got the includes so that they're including. So let's get started. Let's build our very minimal app. I think the goal here is just to get a window up that can load a web page like youtube.com. And once we got that minimal base point, then we can move on from there. So there's two main objects that we have to create and inject into the system. And those are the app object and the client object. So we're going to start with the app object. And it needs to be created with the command line. It needs to, have awareness of the command line because that's how all these things are going to be configured. So they have their own little object there, CEF main args. Let's call that main args. And we pass it in the H instance and it can figure out the command line from there. Then so here's the thing. CEF, another important point. All the CEF objects, they have their own system of smart pointers called the CEF ref pointer. It is an intrusive smart pointer system like the one that COM has. So we go CEF ref pointer, and we need an app object. So there is CEF app. That's the one that we have to inject, but it's a whatchamacallit. It's an abstract. So we actually got to create, even if we're not going to override anything, we just got to create our own implementation of that. So class, and we'll call this one Nano CEF app. It's going to inherit from CEF app, and it's already there because we included it from here. And protected. So like I said, all the CEF objects, they have intrusive ref counting, so you've got to actually put the ref counting stuff in there, and they have a nice little macro to do that for you. The macro is called implement ref counting, and you give it the class name, which is Nano CEF app, and Bob is your uncle. So if you're interested, you can always use the old expand inline. You can see what it does, and it just adds a bunch of functions. I'm seeing now that my putting the protected here does not really do anything, so let's get rid of that because that was pointless. But yeah, to add ref, release, has one ref, at least one ref, blah blah blah. Kind of looks a little bit like the COM stuff, but not a lot. So yeah, we could just put that in here like this. We don't need to put that. So now we have this Nano CEF app. We have our version of it, which is exactly just the CEF app with the ref counting added. So now we can do ref pointer to Nano CEF app p app. There we go. Is equal to new Nano CEF app. Beautiful. So we create that. Now how do we inject it? How do we get the whole ball rolling? Alright, so there's a function called CEF execute process. And we're going to give it reference to the main args p-app, and there's a Windows sandbox, but like I said in the last video, we're not going to use that because that makes things more complicated. So we're just going to do this, and there you go. So what does this do? This is key to the whole secret of unlocking all the stuff in CEF. The first rule of CEF Club is there's a lot of processes. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at an example here. So if we pull up Steam and then we take a look at it under the task manager, Steam web helper, you see that there's a lot of processes here. We see here in the command line for all these processes, they've all got this argument here, type, except this one up here. So what happens is this is the root. This is the one that you executed from the shell, and it is going to execute a bunch of child processes, each with their own job. So there's a utility one. This is network. So this one is doing the network communication. This one, crash pad handler. So I don't know, maybe it's like for reporting crashes or something. I don't know, man. And then the renderer is the boy that is doing all the JavaScript work, and I think all the Blink work, all the actual laying out of the UI. And then there's another one that's actually doing the rendering, but that's called the GPU process. It doesn't show up in here, but we could find it if we went into details. In here, there's going to be one of these bad boys. Yeah, so this one here is GPU process. It's using the GPU. It's the one doing the actual rendering, not the render process. But you see, there's a lot of processes. Some of them are very specialized. Some of them are, so the render process, if you have something like this, you're running Chrome, you got multiple tabs, there's one process, separate process for every tab. Every tab has its own process. They're all isolated from each other. And that's beautiful because like if there's a bug and one of your tabs crashes, it doesn't crash your whole program, only that one tab crashes. Your other tabs are still fine, and that saved me a lot of times. It's very nice to have that isolation. So that is the architecture that we're working with here. It's very important to understand that because you're writing a single exe, but the code, some of the code is running in one process, some of the code is running in a different process, and you need to be aware of that when you're debugging shit, because you might be trying to figure out why something's going wrong. You set a breakpoint, the breakpoint never gets hit, and you don't know why. It's because you're attached to the wrong goddamn process. So that's a rookie mistake that you're going to make if you're just getting into CEF, and once you figure shit out, then you're going to be like, oh yeah, I know this. And eventually what you're going to do is you're going to install an extension that allows you to attach to all child processes automatically and debug them simultaneously. But anyways, neither here nor there. I told you about the multi-process architecture here because that's what this function does. So it has different behavior depending on whether you launch it as the root process. So the root process, the one that we launch when we double-click the exe from the shell, we call that the browser process. We'll talk about why that is later. And that bad boy is going to launch your other processes. So you're going to launch the render process. That's the one that is actually going to process the HTML, the CSS, the JavaScript to figure out what the web page is like. It's also going to launch, like a utility process, which will be like your network utility. And if you're using GPU acceleration, it's going to launch your GPU rendering process. And the way I like to think about it is you could break these up into like 3 categories. The green boys here are your utilities. They're used by maybe multiple processes. They do a very specific job. Your browser process here, this one controls mainly like the window, the top level window that is going to be used to host all the tabs of Chrome. And you got one render process for every tab in here. So I mean, you could you could put another one here. I should have made it a different color, but whatever. You get the idea. So that's the way you can think about this. Now we're not going to do tabs, we're just going to have one render process that we're actually using. So the browser is going to be all about creating that window that hosts all the content stuff. The render is going to be about doing the stuff for the page that we're displaying. And then there'll be some other utility boys just kind of hanging out doing their thing. And what CEF execute process does is it checks, okay, am I the browser process? If so, I got to launch all those goddamn children. I'm going to do that. And then after I'm going to launch those children, I am going to go on my merry way and do the stuff for the browser. If it detects, oh, I am a child process, I have a type, my type is render, my type is, utility network, then it is going to just go into a loop, an infinite loop, like a message loop, that does all the work for a render process or a network process, and it never exits until the end of the program. So we have to detect that, and there's a way. It tells you. So we go if const auto code is equal to this, so it returns a code, and we got to check, is that code greater than or equal to 0? So if it is greater than or equal to 0, that means that this was a child process. It returned a code greater than 0 or equal. And so when it returns, that means we're done and we should get out. We shouldn't go and keep executing shit, because the shit below here is only for browser process. So we're going to return whatever code it gave us. But if it returns -1, that means we are the browser process. It's done doing all the stuff, executing its children. That sounds nefarious. But now it's got to do its own stuff. It's got to go on its merry way and create the browser and shit. Create the top level window and run that. So here is where the forking happens. And it's either going to block and do process work for any child process, or it is going to not block and go on its merry way and do the browser stuff if we are the root browser process. And there you go. There you have it. So that's the first part of this. And I wanted to explain a little bit about this because it's, it's important to conceptualize it. And if it doesn't make a lot of sense, I mean, we're just getting started here, so don't worry about it. Cool your tits. We'll figure it out. But I think we'll call it today here. But I want to try to build this because it ain't gonna build because we don't have the libraries, right? We're not linking to the libraries. Yeah. So it's saying we got an unresolved external symbol, and that is extremely fair. Understandable, have a nice day. We need to pull that in. So, I mean, I'm just going to do it like the laziest way I possibly can. I'm going to drop the library in here. So we got to find it. We built it. We did the CMake. We did the in the build, in the CMake, in the build. And it's probably right in here. We'll grab those two bad boys. We'll copy them into here. And that's where they're going to live. And then we got to tell Visual Studio to link to this. So properties, we make sure we're not in just one specific configuration. We want to do this for all configurations. The classic gotcha. Additional dependencies. Edit your bad boy. Put your libcef DLL wrapper in there. Build. Oh my god. Okay, that's much worse. Okay, I know what this is. I know what this means. So this is the wrapper, but the wrapper is referencing stuff in the actual C DLL, right? The one that it contains Chromium. It's just a wrapper around that. So what we need to iterator debug level is very annoying too. We gotta do something about that at some point. But anyways, let's go to your bad boy release. So most of these are going in the folder with the exe, but this one, this lib, has to go into the project folder. We're going to link to it. We need that. We need it in our here. Paste. And we got to add that. I think it's called libcef.dll. I don't know. Okay. Now, you might still complain about the iterators. Can't open libcef. Okay, well. What is it called? It's called libcef.lib. Of course. So we're linking to it. It's a lib. Alright, this is annoying because I did like a little, before I actually recorded this, right? I did a little test. And I didn't run into this when I did the little test. But the thing is, when I did the little test, here's the thing. I wasn't using the same CEF distribution, right? I was using one I already had on my system. So I think I was using this one, 133. And it could be the case that this one has different options for that than this one, or when I built this one, I enabled that, and obviously I just took the default with this one, but there should be a way of enabling it. So let's just try this again. So if we run this command again and we take a look at all that garbage it spat out, maybe there's like a hint. Yeah, you see here, compile defines debugging, has iterator debugging equal to 0. Now I want that, I like that, and that's what's already in my project. So how do I get this thing to spit out a thing? Like I could probably go into the SLN and then like edit it, but I think CMake should do this for me. Otherwise, what are you doing here? So let's try this. Let's try the CMake with this D boy in here, injecting some defines. Okay, well, I guess screw me. Plan B. Screw you, CMake. I'll do it myself. Has iterator debugging equal to 0? I don't think so. I think it's equal to 1. Or whatever the default is. Alright, let's try this. Build that. Alright, so here's your boy. Newly built. Hopefully with your debugging iterators enabled. How do you like me now? No problem. Okay, so there you go. There's one way of skinning that cat. The other way of skinning the cat is disable them in your project. But I kind of like having them. Although, a word to the wise, I think I saw something about if you're using the sandbox, you really should disable them. So, there you go. We're not going to use the sandbox. That's going to do it for this video. We talked about the whole multi-process architecture of CEF. We got the first part done. We got the linking all set up. Now, in the next video, I think we can get the second piece of the puzzle, which is the client. And maybe we can get a little app running. We'll run our first little test on youtube.com. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click the like button. It helps a lot. And I will see you again with some more Nano CEF.